Welcome back to the Terps of the Beast Coast. So tonight, wherever you are, we're hanging out with Most Hated 6Ds. If you don't know who this person is, you're going to get to know about what he does in the industry. Salute, my G. How are you tonight?
Peace, King. How you, man? I'm blessed.
I'm good, Ken. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know that you're a busy family man. Appreciate you coming on to the Terps of the Beast Coast. So,
I appreciate being here, man. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate that, man. So, how did you get into this? What we call here digital podcast kind of radio show. How did you get into it?
Well, it's actually called Elitedigitalradio.
Mm-hmm.
I got into radio in like 2018. A friend of mine who was in the music industry actually was one of 50's DJs and was touring with 50. Started a radio station here in Hartford, Connecticut, and I came on board with him, and we actually were doing a weekly show. Him, myself, and another one of my boys were doing the show weekly on the broadcast. And then as time went on, I became, more and more involved with the process and the logistics of things, and just started, picking his mind about what did he do with this and how did this happen and how did he get this to work, and just picked his mind because I knew he was an industry dude. You know what I mean? So I just absorbed as much as I could from him, and then actually it was more or less, he was getting ready to move away, and as I said, he was already a DJ for 50, so he already had his own DJ app, and he was like, listen, I don't need two of them. I mean, I'm getting ready to give this one up. I was like, well, listen, if you're giving it up, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
There you
So,
go,
I mean,
man.
it just worked out, man. I took it over from him, during the pandemic, and we've just been booming from there, man. That's when later on I started a podcast, the Elite Podcast, which we're in our second season now. Doing pretty good, pretty successful with that. I use the Elite Digital Radio as a platform for, what I mean, my podcast, because I put all of the episodes and the artists and all the information as well is on my app, which is actually free downloads, man. You know what I mean? No money, no nothing, man. Just free subscriptions, everything. Just when you bored, want something to do, bang out throughout the course of the day. It's 24-hour live music stream. You know what I mean? So, and I take in the majority of I have like a segment set away for each day for all of my musical artists that I've had on the show, just to keep them in rotation and play their music and get them the notoriety that I got them on the show for to begin with. You know what I mean? But
Nice.
just use it as a platform, man, to try to give people their flowers and bless them in any way I can.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I mean, I like what you guys are doing. I've checked out a couple of the shows, and it's something where if you guys, when you're not checking out Terps of the Beast Coast, I implore you to check them out as well. So,
Word.
Elite Digital,
Even,
yeah,
look,
man, it's all love here.
even if you checking out Turp, you can still check out Elite. Turp was on us. Check Turp's episode on Elite Digital Radio. We got him.
Appreciate that love, man. So
You know
Elite Digital Radio, man. I love what you're doing. As far as that goes, I always want to jump into, a couple questions as far as just switching it up. So, with the pandemic itself, how did that affect your business as far as with the pandemic when that took place? Did that slow you down or did things pick up more aggressively?
Actually, to tell you the truth, that's when it all started for me.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They tried to stagnate us in so many ways, but in all reality, it gave me a plan. It gave me an idea to start this right here. You know what I'm saying? And ever since then, we've been going strong.
Nice, nice,
You
nice.
know,
I like that. I like that.
we use that and took it as energy to power us, man. You know,
I like that. I like that. So before you jumped into the radio, what were you doing before that?
well, like I said, I was actually we were doing a radio show, a weekly show, Backspin with a Twist. It was more or less another show in which we were highlighting, you know, local and artists because he had a link, he had an end with the music industry.
Mm,
So again, we were doing shows, but like I said, it was during that time when we would still be able to be outside. So we were
right,
outside and
right.
doing events a lot more in the community. You know what I'm saying? This type of drive, that type of drive. It was a lot more community orientated, and that's what I'm trying to really bring back. Because during the pandemic,
Got you.
we lost a lot of people mainly because of the pandemic. So I'm just trying to bring it back, man. Bring it back community based. Have some little fun with the community.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, that outside vibe that we had before the pandemic was something that people enjoy. I mean, but right now, I don't want to really touch on too many current trends, but things are a little bit odd at this time. Inflation
Yeah,
is upon us.
yeah.
There's a lot of turmoil going on. There's a lot of violence going on, and I think with how things are happening, it really is really no longer the way it used to be. We're now changing into a whole different um, vibe, if you want to call it that. I don't want to muddy the word vibe, but the whole situation is not clear right now. So there's a lot of tension out there.
Right.
And I think as far as that goes, music has always been a good thing that help people relieve that tension, right?
It
And
helps you
with that
communicate. It helps you
saying,
heal, man.
definitely, definitely. Now, not to say that all music is good. Some of the music nowadays,
Oh
boy,
well,
I
we
tell you,
definitely can't say that. We definitely cannot say that. And,
you
and
know,
just to touch on that though, man. You know, not to be biased to this new era, this new genre, but I had one of my last guests on was a musician, and he put it best because I asked him what did he think about the state of hip hop right now. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing
mm,
he said, he started off and he said, "Well, I'm an old school head." You know what I'm saying? So I always ask myself, why can't it be how it used to be? He said, "But the music that we're listening to now is good for my era." And he made it clear when he said that. He said, "For my era." And I asked him what
mm,
he meant. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean when you say that? And he said, it's because of the misinterpretations of so many different things that people can get away with. You know what I mean?
mm.
And it made sense. And it made
I get you.
sense.
I
You know
got you.
what I
I mean,
mean?
at the end of the day, growing up, it's the same thing our parents probably used to say about what you listening to, but I'm talking about some of the context, and it's not just hip hop. I mean, shit. I'm just talking just across the board with any kind of genre of music. Some of the
Okay.
things that are being portrayed, and it's like there's a lack of family unity in some of the music, which I understand that families are not the same of how they used to be in the past, but at the same time, we have to think about music as an instrument. It is what kind of set the tone, right? We just said that with the music, it sets the vibe. So if we're portraying certain vibes within that music, it's going to feed that certain turmoil that is going to still continue without us trying to bring some kind of unity or bring some kind of sense of what is right versus what is wrong. Now, I understand that what's going on right now, and we're partial to blame because we 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 accepted some of the defaults or some of the negativity in our hip hop era. You know what I mean? And we labeled it, gangster rap, and we glorified it, and but then we understood that some of that wasn't right, also, right? Because at the end of the day, some of the shit that was being portrayed wasn't. wasn't right, man. It wasn't right. Some of
Absolutely.
it wasn't right. Even
Absolutely.
though even though it was of our time and our genre, you know,
Well, see,
the shit
that's
that
just the one thing about music, though, man. Because it allows you to, regardless to how you look at it, it allows you to express yourself in so many different ways that you have to stay open to different things, right? Like just the way in which you sit here and you explaining how, just morally how we were raised, how we grew up, and how the music was totally different, and the messages and the values were something totally different from what in which we're now hearing, right? But
right.
at the same time, that is wishing we're now we're looking at that of saying, oh well, that's just something in creation. That's his creative side that creates this type of image or persona that makes him create that type of music. But we have to accept it because it's his music, right? It's his way of expressing himself,
Mm, mm.
right?
I
Now,
d-
and that's just it.
yeah,
That's the one thing about music. Whether it's good or it's bad, it's all about an expression or an emotion. Now, everybody doesn't share the same emotions, whether they're good or bad, right?
it's true. That's
So
true.
we have to be able to respect the different boundaries in which people use to express themselves. Not a shit. Nowhere close to like we all like that shit, but we gotta respect it.
Got you. Yeah, it's something where I understand the artistic side of it, the artistic expression of it,
And that's just
but I
it.
still
That's
have,
it right there.
but I still have to say, some of the artistic values sometimes don't have the family values.
No. Hey, but look, you know what? Shit. The best known one that everybody look, you can't nobody say they wasn't killing no cows. And Cal used to tell you the crazy shit he was doing. We just wasn't listening.
100, 100. We
You know
definitely,
what I'm saying? We just Kels was telling us the freaky shit we was doing, but it just sounded so good, we wasn't listening.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, man. And he just got what, 30 years, I believe. Ah, man,
You know what I'm
we went,
saying?
we
Yeah, he
just,
just
we
got
was
30
in,
years.
we was in, we was enjoying the beat.
He look, yo, he was so, but that was just it though. He was so musical in the way he was expressing himself through the music. You really wasn't listening. You was just vibing to that shit. It was just like, and then once you started breaking this shit down and listening to you, like, yo, did he just say he did what? He said what?
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. So,
That's it,
you
man.
know, let's get into it, man. So, you know, Elite Digital Radio, man. As far as that goes, what was the reasoning as far as you naming it Elite Digital Radio? How did you come up with that name?
Well, actually, I can't take any credit for the name of the radio station because,
Okay,
like I said,
okay.
my man had already owned it.
You already had it, so that's the name that came with it. Okay,
Right, right, right.
got you.
I mean, and that was another thing. Honestly, that was something that I kind of tainted with when I took it was, do I change the name or
Mm,
do I keep the name? You know what I mean? Because it was already established. I was already on it for the last 2 years already to begin with. So it was like, do I change it? Do I keep it? And I said, you know what? I might as well just keep it for now. And if I feel like it's more negative than positive, then obviously I'll fix it and I'll change it. But to be honest with you, it's been just as successful.
that's what's up, man. Yeah, I mean, when I first heard of it, I was like, "That's a good name." It kind of separates yourself from other podcasts out there. So I like that it was a unique kind of concept to it. Now, as far as you know, what is it that you guys do as a radio? I mean, I know you do interviews. You just explained to me you do music based on the artist that comes on. Do you do any other things out there in regards to what Elite Digital Radio does? Do you do events or anything like that?
Well, yes, we're involved. I mean, like I said, as far as community based, we do community based fundraisers in which we go out in the community, whether it's Christmas drives or whether it's bowling drives or whether it's camping drives. We're out in the community in that sense. Um, as far as a organization as being out in the community as well, again, we really haven't been out as much. As far as Elite, the podcast, yes, we've been out to numerous different events covering, getting different coverage from different venues all over the state. But as far as Elite Radio, the music aspect, music wise, we haven't been out covering, but podcast wise, yes, we have.
Nice, nice, nice. So what I'm gonna do is, man, I'm gonna get into the Terp Nation questions with you, so you can get a understanding of where your palate stands when it comes to cannabis. So first
Let's
thing I'm
get
gonna
it.
pop off is
Let's
your
get it. Let's
top
get
three,
it.
your top three flavors when it comes to cannabis. Which one is it that you enjoy?
Top three. Well, let's see. See, I'm an old school dude. So right off the top, I gotta go with the old school pip.
Mm, that's what's up.
That but that like that real old, not that real old school pip. Then then I say I'm kind of I'm kind of partial to the fruities. Um, my man, and you know what? I gotta say, Tone really put me on to the Tangy.
Okay, okay,
He when we first hooked up, he had a slew of Tangy, man. It was just breaking it off, breaking it off, breaking it off. But yeah, I say that Piff, that Tangy, and then I gotta stay with the, you know, just a simple gelato. Nothing,
okay.
nothing crazy, nothing crazy. Just a simple gelato.
Nice, nice. Those are some decent ones as far as that goes, some classic ones. When it comes to concentrates, do you prefer solventless or solvent? Meaning that do you prefer hash or do you prefer BHO? Which one do you prefer?
Hey, you know what? It's crazy now to be doing it, flipping it this way, yo. You know what I'm saying? Because normally I'm on the other end of this and I'm asking these questions. But now it's like, okay, all right. And now, honestly, you know, Tone done turned me out, man. You know what I'm saying? He get a homie now talking about I'm on too many flowers, man. So whenever I mess with this dude, we always banging out on some good hash, man.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And then the last termination question is, when it comes to growing or when it comes to consuming the cannabis flower itself, do you prefer salt or organic?
You know, for a while, I really didn't understand what the craze was about the organic shit. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? I'm like, oh, man, everybody going and whatever. Okay, okay, whatever. Okay, all right. It's yeah, and then you start to taste a little bit of it, and you like, yeah, it's all right. So it's okay, but then it's like when you get a real batch or that first organic, and when you get that real batch, it's like, oh, okay, yeah,
now
this
you
just got a
know.
this just got a whole different pang to it. Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I got to go with organic, man.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. So thank you so much for answering the Turp Nation questions. So
Absolutely.
here, if I'm sitting back right now listening to this episode and I'm like, man, I want to get into this podcasting. I want to get into, what Elite Digital Radio is doing. They got their own app. You know, they got some musical acts that's going on. What are five tips you can give somebody if they want to get into this type of game?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say I can give you tips, but don't look at me as an expert. You
Oh,
know what I'm
never
saying?
that, man.
You know
Because
what I'm
no
saying?
one's a true expert. Everybody's a student in life, brother.
Exactly, exactly. I'm learning every day, man. But I would say it's just a couple of things you really got to do, man. First and foremost, you got to have the motivation to be able to want to do something, right? Like you said, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get into radio? How do I start the podcast? You got to be motivated and want to be able to do it and get into the radio or get into the podcast. That's one because motivation is going to carry you throughout your goods, your bads, your highs, and your lows. So one first thing is motivation.
Mm,
Second thing I'm gonna say is dedication
mm,
because with motivation brings your dedication, right? And once you become dedicated to something, the motivation is like second hand, right? Third thing, what a lot of people don't do, and it's really sad because we fail to realize this. Use your resources. Use your own personal resources.
mm.
Before you think that you got to do something extravagant and go all out and go to find this person, go to find that person, use your own resources in your own circle and see what you come up with. You'd be surprised.
Right.
You'd be surprised, right? Four, I'm gonna say from any and everybody, take failing as every learning lesson possible,
Mm. Big gem right there.
regardless to what happens, man. Listen, if you take it as you failing, your mind state is wrong because you're not failing,
Mm.
you learning. How else would you learn?
That's right.
How
That's
else would
right.
you learn? How else would you learn about a podcast unless you're motivated and dedicated to want to do it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It all goes hand in hand, man. It all goes hand in hand. And five, honestly, I use this on all my posts, and at this point, it's not cliche for me, man. And it's just three things I say: love, live life. Love,
That's what's
live
up.
life.
That's what's up. Man, those some powerful tips right there, man. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless if they don't even want to get into this type of podcasting, whatever they want to pursue, those tips are universal. And I appreciate you breaking that down because, you
Yeah.
know, people have to understand that the choices you make um, pretty much predicts your future, right? So, with the
And it's how
structure that
you.
you just yeah, the structure you just gave to somebody or these tips, they can structure that into whatever they want to do in life, and it would definitely help them out. So, big gems on that with respect to that, man. Thank you so much for sharing
Straight up. Bless, bless.
all the time. Blessed. So, let's talk about the podcast industry itself, man. You said you had the opportunity. Somebody said they got two of them. They got one. You know, you how what was inside your mindset when you're like, man, I got to get on this. Like, besides you seeing what the capabilities or what was going on around it, was there something like deep inside of you where you're just like, I'm gonna take this thing and run with it deep? What was that mindset that got you to like take that leap and move forward?
Yo, it's funny you asked that question, Tony, honestly, because it's a story behind that. And I've never really told this story. So this is honestly the first time I'm even talking about it like this. But this the podcast, the whole idea started off as a group venue amongst, myself and two other my boys. And unfortunately, just how things go. Things don't always work out. Difference of opinion. This happens, that happens, life happens, and neither one of them now have anything to do with the show.
Mm,
But how would it like I say, it was three of us when we first started, right?
gotcha,
Then,
gotcha.
then two of us got together and started doing it. Excuse me. And then now it's just myself with Tone. But what I'm saying is none of the original three got there. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So the measures and you saying is how do you get this podcast and how do you do this? How do we start it? Is what motivated me honestly was the fact that we knew how successful it could be, and I think that's what got in the way of us not all doing it together.
mm. Couldn't eat together, huh?
You know what I mean? You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
I know that feeling. I know that feeling, man. And people
We
gotta
all knew how
understand.
really yeah, and it was it was three strong bulls. You know what I mean? Like and that's the crazy thing is from lifetime bulls grew up together, three strong personalities, but we all knew really how big if we put our effort, you know what I'm saying, our time, our motivation, our dedication into this, we really knew what could happen. Like, listen, man, there's so many podcasts that came out of the pandemic and that still continue to flourish every day, every week now, right? But the way that we look at it is we don't compete with anybody.
Mm,
We're not here to compete with anybody because the focus of our podcast is just to highlight people. You know, you don't have to be that NBA star to be on our podcast. You know, now to say that we haven't, I mean, we've had a whole range of different people, man. From before we even started the cannabis series, we've had former NFL players, we've had former NBA
mm,
players, we've had musicians like DJ Doo-Wop, we've had Carlton Fisk, we've had Shaheem. We said we've had all different people, all different genres. We've had um, the first black senator in the state of Connecticut. We've had different corporate lawyers. We've had whole different types of genres. But the thing about it is, it's never to promote anything but themselves. You understand what I'm saying? We bring them in and
oh yeah,
highlight them, and we bring them in and highlight and let them know this hour that we're doing is all about you. We're not here to promote and thread you about nothing except you. We want to hear your story. We want you to tell our audience because we're not a big audience. But if we get you, then we can get you. You know what I'm saying? Now we've reached
definitely.
like when I look at the analytics for the show, we've reached Asia, we've reached Russia. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me when I see the numbers, but the numbers don't lie. They there. You know what I'm saying? So that's the stuff that motivates me and keeps me dedicated. It's like I don't know anyone in Asia. I don't know anyone in Russia, but there's people that are tapping in over there to see my podcast.
That's
That's
what's
the
up, man.
motivation.
Mm,
That's the
that's
motivation.
what's up. Mm. So, you know, as far as with, you know, podcasting, you know, what other interests do you have besides podcasting?
Well, let's just say I have a very strong interest in the cannabis industry, especially since Connecticut is now becoming legal. I've been in Connecticut for over 4 decades, so it's a long time coming. I have a couple of friends that are making some moves, getting ready to make some legal projects come abound that we've been waiting for. So that's going to be a fun hobby to get into. I've been coaching for, man, I've been coaching high school at the high school level for the last 10 years. Before that, I was coaching club teams. I'm a football head, man. But when I say football, I mean real football, man. We talking about football, football. Not with no helmets. We talking about with the feet.
That's what's
You know
up,
what I mean?
man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I do know.
but
I haven't heard
yeah,
that in a minute.
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah, man, other than that, just kick it, chill with the family, man. Spend as much time as I can with the family. Family's in the area, man, so we like to get together a lot, hang out, chill, nothing crazy.
That's what's up, man. I used to live out in the port myself, man.
Oh,
You
word,
know,
word.
yeah, yeah, man. I was out there for a minute, actually. Um, can't remember which the school was, but yeah, I went out there for a little bit for schooling too. So,
Oh, okay.
uh, I ain't gonna drop no locations right now. All the neighborhoods I used to mob with, they re-gentrified them anyways. They ain't even
Hey,
looking like they looking anymore.
it's all good. CT in the building.
Still got my CT number, by fact. Still got the 203, the original 203, baby.
Oh, oh yeah. You know what? That's definitely the original too. That 203
That's
is the
right.
original because they done broke it
That's
down with
right.
the 860 now.
We ain't even get into that 860. That's for them suckers over there. You know what I mean? If you ain't got a 203, you ain't OG. You just came aboard after the fact. I ain't even gonna get step into that too deep, but yeah. Man. Talking when we used to have the chirp back in the days, you know?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So as far as I go, that's what we was. I forgot who was. I was kicking it with some shit online the other day. And yeah, we were talking about that shit. Like, yeah, like the chirp and the Nokia.
Yeah, that was my first. What was that? The next tell, the chirp joint.
Yeah, man. That was that nationwide thing, you know, wherever from the bay to the
Hell
port.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, you know, it was interesting.
Oh yeah. It made things very interesting if you had that motherfucker though.
Then they took it away. I was mad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Teased us with this shit. Cause that shit like, yo, where you at?
Right over here, man. But let's talk about you know, so you're getting into the what aspects of the cannabis culture? Are you going to be doing the adult side or the medical side?
Well, my man is actually looking into spaces right now. They're gonna have a dispensary.
Okay.
So I my plan is, my plan is still on the low as far as my involvement just yet. Mainly because there's a lot of things in which I'm sure you know that have to go on before
Oh
any and
man,
everything happens. You know what I'm saying? But it's getting the space is getting it's getting shorter. It's getting shorter, you know.
trust
But
me.
hopefully, when we are able to get to that stage, you know what I'm saying, we can chat a little further.
Yeah, hit me up, man. I've been I'm here in the middle of trying to get certain license on board, and it's been excuse me, it's been a interesting ride.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
might have
yeah. He's
you
he's
just
dealing
be
with
prepared
cannabis,
for all
man.
types of
It's a real
things.
ride. Say it again.
So you got to be prepared for all types of things. You might have to possibly deal with lawsuits. You know, you might have
Oh
to be
yeah.
good at work, things of that nature, just because
Look,
people might try to shake you down for
something
paying
changes every
more for
week,
what the
man.
property is worth. You know, things
Something
like
changes
that.
every, yeah, man. Something changes every week, man. Something changes every week. You know what I mean? Like my man just had to go and speak in front of the town last week, just because at first you're okay, and then all of a sudden, as you get closer, you're not okay, or they got questions, and they become skeptical and like, yo, come on, man. But it's all part of the game. Like we know, this isn't the first location in which we've had to find a different spot. So just like I said, man, just keep the fingers crossed, see what happens.
No doubt. So the plan itself, man. When did you first, you know, find out about this wonderful plan and what it can do for you?
Oh man, to be honest with you, my first experience with it, I was too young. I was just
Mm,
exposed to it. I was exposed to it. I came downstairs and literally Pops had a goddamn garbage bag full of weed on the table. He turned around, looked at me, and was like, "Man, get your ass back upstairs." So I just hauled ass and went back upstairs. You know what I'm saying? But as far as actually me experimenting with it, you know, I experimented with as a child, but that was just it. Experimenting with it, not really knowing, you know, anything really truly about it, just knowing that it was cannabis.
mm,
Um, as far as getting actually into the plant, more involved in the plant, I would say 100% my freshman year in college.
okay. Okay.
Um, that's probably I can't. And like I said, not that I hadn't experimented with it before, but my freshman year in college is when I can say I was a consistent cannabis smoker.
Mm, okay. That's what's up, man. I mean, as far as I do, you remember what was your experience then? Was it something more like did you was it a blunt? Was it a joint? Was it a bong?
Honestly, you know what? It's crazy because, like I said, it wasn't until college in which I really got into it. But I used to smoke blunts to study.
Okay.
Um, it would just help me break things down a lot easier. It made things just slower for me in my mind because I went to school. I got my BA in psych, so it just slowed things down for me when I was reading in class, even in class. You know what I mean? I would smoke a blunt before going to class. If I know I had a lecture
Mm,
that day, I mean, the notes would be shit, a good 6, 7 extra pages from what they normally would be, but it helped me process information easier, you know.
right.
And that's when I helped. That's when I really started to realize that like I would smoke outside of that, but at the same time, it would definitely help me inside as far as school wise. You know what I mean? Like it helped me focus more. It helped me focus more.
That's
I
what's
mean,
up.
listen, man, I can tell you it's crazy because I played sports in college. Um, it got to a point where my coach would ask me the night before games, "Did you smoke last night?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, we straight. Don't worry about it. We good." And we would go in, we win the game, boom, 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 go celebrate and get ready for the next one. Come to the game the next day, he'd be like, "Smoke last night?" We're like, "Yeah, man, we good. We'll win the game. We'll just, you know what I mean?" For me, it helped me focus. It helped me focus.
That's what's up.
And now as I get older, I use it more as a medication in a medication sense. As
Mm.
compared to earlier when I was using it to help me focus mentally, now I
It's still
use it to help.
medication.
Yeah, you know what I'm
It's
saying.
better.
Now,
It's better than you taking those drugs, man. Because
right,
taking
exactly.
some Ritalin or whatever, you found a natural process that helped you deal with what you needed to do to focus. It was a focusing tool. So I understand where people, this is my soapbox where people always, I get on them and be like, look, we label it, but it's actually a medicine. And the reason why we label it is so we can put it in a box and say this is what it is versus what it's really not. And they don't
Right.
want us to know that this is a natural medicine. The herb itself is natural and it helps with a lot of things. And right now they're demonizing it in the media, saying that it is causing all these type of, you know, uh, violent acts. But you yourself just explained that when you utilize it when you were in college, it was to help you focus, make you get through the tests, make you go in the field, where possibly what that did was help with you recuperating after being hit. So this thing has been the best medicine that we what that the society doesn't even want to uphold, but they label it as, and it's sad to say adult use, recreational use. There's nothing recreational or adult use when this thing can be used to help small children and to help elderly people, to help all ages of life. And this we as a society have to learn to stop demonizing this thing because it's very beneficial to all if used in the right way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like I said, I use it now. I mean, I've got, shoot, I've tore my Achilles. I've had
Mm.
quad surgery. I've got nerve impingement in my back. So now I really use it as a medication in medication sense. You know what I mean? Because it helps me. It helps alleviate my pain. And that's not to say that, I use it to say, and that's really the thing, because I work in a school system, right? And I hear a lot of my students, and they sit around and talk about, oh, I'm high, did this, and that, as far as smoking and being high and doing this and acting this way and acting that way. And I say to them in the clearest mind, like, how can you mistreat the plant in the way that you do? And they look at me crazy, you know what I'm saying? Because they're not expecting Mister to be able to talk to them that way. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, listen, man, if you really want to do the plant any justice, y'all wouldn't come in here and brag about how high you are. I said, because now at this point, it's legal. So who cares if you're high, right? The real task and the real question and emphasis is you're high. But what are you gonna do right now? What's your action? Just because you high, does that shut you down? You know what I'm saying? How are you not using that high to help you and enhance you in the ways that you need it? And that's what the issue is with a lot of these young kids today. Like, oh, I'm high. Okay, you high. What are you doing with it? And that's how they mistreat it and misunderstand. Like, what are you doing with the high? You just think, okay, it's cool to be high because you high.
Well,
Use the high.
it goes back to society, how they broadcast the utilization of it. And it's sad to say that, what you say is the perfect terminology that you're misusing it. If they were to understand that, you know, possibly if you just do, one toke, bringing it back to when people used to talk about these songs like, one toke, or, they didn't understand that that's all you need, you know, one toke, put it down and see how things are for you. Things might be more balanced, things might be more even versus you being over the
Integrating
situation where
inequality.
it's just,
Yeah.
because think about it, if you, it's just like any other medicine, right? If you take too much of Advil or you take too much of whatever prescription medicine, there's going to be adverse effect, and not just the effect of where you're no longer functioning, but there's also effects internally. Now that's the good thing about the plant being natural, is that you can utilize a whole bunch of it. And it's not going to affect you or affect organs just like if you were to use something of a more pharmaceutical nature. And that's one of the good pluses, right? And that's why I think some people overuse it because there is no true repercussion that's happening inside of the body. You might have more of an adverse effect where you're feeling a little bit more unstable or you might go to sleep. But other than that, that's about as far as it goes. Now, it depends on what you're doing behind it. You know, I would never advocate for somebody, take a toke and go behind the wheel.
Oh
But
yeah.
just,
No.
at the end of the day, it's you have to think about it. It's a plant medicine, and it has its limits and it has its boundary. Learn about the medicine itself, understand the boundaries, and then you can utilize it as the proper tool that's needed in any kind of space, right? So,
Absolutely.
you know, there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of miseducation because of the propaganda that's happened over the years. Because, as I said, they don't want you to be able to use something or to even find out about something that you can, you know, utilize yourself, grow yourself, and help
Right.
yourself.
It's been demonized for so long, and they've tried to put the influence on people that is going to do this and do that to you, that it turns so many people away. And when I say turn so many people away, so many people, I'm talking about us people, that's black people. But what's funny is I had a chance to sit down and listen to this lady, this young lady. Actually, we was talking about from CT, we was talking about from Bridgeport, but she's from New Haven at the Connecticut Cancer
But
Expo. Um, she started her own CBD line because of her daughter. You know what I mean? She had a real interesting story. She had quit her job and everything and bet on herself. Her daughter she has like was having like she has like a bone deficiency or whatever. So something to that extent. And she started making up, whooping up shakes and everything for her, CBD drinks. All of a sudden this girl is back to normal walking and everything perfectly fine. So she said after that she just bet on herself, started making different treats of different types. She was talking about how she had a lady who used to be a dancer, right, and was no longer able to walk. But after having her products for 3 months, the lady was back dancing from not being able to walk. You know what I
so
mean?
in our body, we have a system called the endocannabinoid system,
There
and
that
what
go.
cannabis produces are cannabinoids, and these cannabinoids are attached to the receptors, which now kind of help revitalize the body and the functions or help align certain things within the body once these receptors start to pick up on the cannabinoid medicine. So, when it comes to hemp, CBD, which is just one cannabinoid, but when we're talking about hemp derived products where it has a more predominant CBD and there's other cannabinoids within hemp, they use that because they say in turn it has a less what we would say I hate using the word psychoactive because it's not psychoactive or non-psychoactive, but it has a less intoxicating effect on the body, and that's why people turn towards more of a hemp-derived, plant matter versus the sister plant, which is also cannabis, right? So hemp is the sister plant of cannabis, hemp
I was about to
sativa.
say.
um, so this is where the education and the classification and the separation of what this thing is, which is it's all one, but we have to separate it so it can be here. Oh, this is more hemp derived. This is more of a it has the more non-intoxicating effect, so you won't feel the effects. But in all actuality, it does have an effect, but the effect itself is that it's realigning things within the cannabinoid system, within the endocannabinoid system, because you're using these cannabinoids that at one time in history, hemp was everywhere. Hemp was even in the feed of the
What you mean?
animals, and in turn,
It was
because
it was legal. You could grow him.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is the farm animals, the chickens, the cows, the pigs were fed hemp. In turn, those hemp products, when you ate the meat, was in the meat. So those meats were activating your endocannabinoid system. We removed all of these hemp derived products and started
Yeah,
introducing plastic, and now we became more toxic. And this is where, if your endocannabinoid system is not fully balanced, which it's something where you just have to adapt again back to these natural farming techniques. I believe that there'll be less ailments in the world and less of these things such as autism. You know, I think these are just deficiency things that are happening within the body. I'm not a doctor, but I did work for one for quite a bit, and I learned a lot and understanding that with plant, this plant itself had so many usage, and it scared the plastic industry, the petroleum industry, because we would no longer need them because we can utilize hemp to create our own clothing, our own food, our own materials that we're using, like this plastic material, we can use hemp derived to create
why
it.
you
And
say all of a sudden it's legal for us to stop? I mean, it's continue. They knew
exactly,
what happened. They knew what it was. They knew what it was.
man. Listen, man, I can go deep down a rabbit hole with you, man. But we can always save that for another episode and get into
Definitely.
that. I just want to just talk about what you are doing right now and salute you for what you're doing.
I
Keep on
appreciate
doing what you're doing. Nah, man, we appreciate you. But before we let you go, another question I always ask is, if you were in my shoe, what question did I fail to ask you that you would have wanted to ask me to ask you?
Oh man, I don't know nothing like that. Now, like I said, it's already hard enough, man. I'm not used to it being on the other side of the microphone already. I don't know. It's tough for me too, man. I listen. I'm I'm always my own toughest critique, so I couldn't tell you, brother. As far as I'm concerned, you did a high you did a high to me.
All right.
You know what I'm
So then,
saying?
if you want to let us know how to connect with you, what's your social media links, what's your website, let them know.
All right, absolutely, brother. Like I said, man, I appreciate you for having me out today. Um, Elite Digital Radio, the app is available on Apple and Android. EliteDigitalRadio.com, Elite Digital Radio, the IG page, Elite Digital Radio presents the Elite Podcast, the YouTube channel, and Elite Digital Radio, the Elite Podcast is available on Spotify as well. My bad. As far as anything coming up, man, we grinding, man. We're trying to get out here this summer. Like I said, be more involved in the music scene as far as concerts. I got a couple of things, a couple of surprise things I got coming up. Shout out to Shaolin. But we gonna get things going. We still gonna work on what we got going on too, though. I ain't forget about it. We gonna make that crack too.
All right, man. And you know what? We're gonna make sure we get those links from them so we can put it into the description of this episode. Listen,
Absolutely.
man, I want to thank you so much. Most hated 6Ds. Thanks for coming on to the Terps of the Beast Coast. Like I always said, the only way we can let this thing grow is if you share, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification so you can know when the next episode comes out. And I thank you so much for being on the episode of the Terps of the Beast Coast.